Welcome, Björn Rosengren, and thank you for taking part in the Embassy of Switzerland's series on innovating in time of crisis. You are the Chief Executive Officer of ABB. I'm the Ambassador of Switzerland to the United States of America. Let's talk about the challenging times that we are going through, and let's also maybe try and get a perspective on how disruptive moments like this one can propel and foster innovation and force us to think a little bit ahead of our times. So maybe just for anyone who wouldn't know ABB, which is very, very unlikely, ABB is a leading global technology company. And can you tell me about the automation and robotics industry? Because you are such an important representative of both the robotics and the automation industry, both in Switzerland and in the US.
Yes, correct. Thank you very much for inviting me. Exciting. And of course, the US market is our largest market in the world. And we have quite a lot of employees, actually 20,000 people working in the US, both in production as well as in R&D, product development, sales, logistics, and so on. So the US market is extremely important for us. We are operating in numerous of businesses. We actually divide them into 4 different areas. So the largest business we have is electrification. And we are, maybe you are also well aware that we made a large investment in the North American market, the GE electrification business a couple of years ago, and is being integrated into the group, which actually really strengthened our position in North American market. We are also in motion, which is actually transferring electricity into movement. And here we also made a large investment in the North American market, which is the Baldor business, a very well-known brand in the market. We are, of course, in the robotics, where we've been for many years, and also in automation. We call it process automation or industrial automation, where we actually work to support a lot of different industries to automatize their businesses.
You know, every time I'm trying to tell my American friends how mutually beneficial the Swiss-American relationship is, I point at the fact that we are the 7th biggest investor in the American economy. And in terms of R&D, we are number 1 investor in the American economy, bigger than anyone else. And so, and it's very good news to know that it's not just pharmaceuticals, because we are very strong in pharmaceuticals, but people tend to forget automation and robotics and electricity, which are very, very, very important in fact to the Swiss industrial sector. Now, we've been through the first 6 months of COVID, and we have been all forced to rethink the way we're working. Has it changed the way you run your business?
Yeah, as you probably know, I actually started the job here in ABB from 1st of January this year. So I started just before the pandemic was affecting a big part and closing down a big part of the world. Luckily, I had a good chance to travel both to US and to other parts. And I actually spent quite some time in North America to meet our different operations. But sure, you know, for any industrial company, this COVID-19 pandemic was, of course, a shock to all of us. First, of course, for the safety for our employees, which of course always need to be priority number 1, but also, of course, to be able to support our customers. That we need to make sure that their businesses can run and support their market. So it's a lot of constraints, and I think you know, going through this change, I think we also realized that you know, the strength of the businesses and the resilience of many of our business has been quite well, meaning that we have been able to operate we have close to 350 production facilities around the world, And these units have more or less all of them been able to function during this time. And that's, of course, because we've been focusing on making the environment, the working environment for employees very safe, which has to be the part. But then, of course, it's also to make sure that we can communicate, that we can send goods, and people can work in a different way as before. And it's pretty clear what you're saying. It's a much more virtual world, and we have, of course, realized that there are other ways of doing it than we did it before. And I think that's what we're trying to make conclusions out and see, how we will do that in the future when the pandemic.
Speaking of this, speaking of reorganizing the way you work, I mean, you're an industrial company, so there is no such thing as working from home if you're producing machinery. So how did you have to rethink the way you were organizing your workforce? Did you have to go into shifts? How did you do that?
First, I can say that our production facilities are in all different places, and we actually also had some of these facilities in areas which were really infected. And during this period, we decided that we applied for being able to run our operations because of the industry that we are. We need to support critical areas in many countries, which meant that we always got the permission to run our factories. So what we said is that we have to guarantee a safe environment for the employees, which meant that we tried to learn from other places in the world that every employee that comes in, we took the temperature, we had the physical distancing, we had a lot of hygiene measures that needed to be taken, and we ran the operation at the part. If anyone had any kind of symptoms of not being healthy, they had to go home immediately. And we pushed that very hard, and I think we learned from each other. We shared a lot of information from different places, and I think we have, improved the way. And we actually have very, very few cases in all our factories around the world, and managed to keep sometimes even a safer environment than outside.
And one of the problems that came to light through the COVID crisis was the problem of supply chain management.
Yeah.
And it's probably not going to stop, even if, God willing, we have a vaccine in the near future and whatever. But the consequences combined with let's say the trade conflict that we see on the horizon. No, it's not on the horizon; it's here between the US, Europe, and China. Did you already draw lessons from this crisis about the way you're dealing with your supply chain?
Number one, I would like to say that even though we are a very global company and more or less active in the most countries in the world, we've had a strategy of being global but act local. That has been our philosophy, and I think that's been built up during many years, working in difficult economies and different countries, where you actually need to support the local market, also local. From places like if you are in China, it's very difficult to export into China. You need to build in the same way with India, and also in US at an early stage we built up a lot of production facilities, which means that majority of the products that we actually merchandise in North America is produced in the country. So a lot of factories, but also closer to the consumer. And I think today that has paid off well. And today we realize that strategy is something that we need to build on. We might even push it a little bit further and try to make both when it comes to the supply chain as well as the production to be more local.
And it's also probably a way to deal with the challenge of climate change and trying to reduce the transports. And yeah, I can imagine that's quite important. So do you think that COVID and maybe the follow-on pandemic, if there is one, is it going to impose long-term or medium-term implications on industries like yours?
Yeah, I think the final conclusion we of course have to draw when the pandemic is going towards the end, and we see that we have the way to go back to a reasonable normal. But we also have to look at the areas. What have we learned from that? How have we become more efficient? How do we need to secure that if the future have similar pandemics or other crises, that we can be able to support our customers in the most efficient way, even in these times. And I do believe that the strategy of being more local is important, and I agree with you what you say that the sustainability thought, which is actually being highlighted even more during this COVID and getting out of it. This is the way we need to drive the business. So yes, I think we'll draw the conclusion, and we try to learn and to become more efficient going forward.
We are both in jobs that are well known for flying around activities all over the world and going to meetings and flying to meetings to the other end of the earth. In the meantime, we've had so many virtual meetings that we probably can't look at a computer anymore without shuddering. But do you get the feeling we will fly less once we have learned all these lessons?
Yeah, I really hope that we, at the conclusion, will be there out. And we have had a lot of discussion in our leadership team, of course, to discuss, how we should be able to work more efficient. And I think working virtually is a way to be more efficient. We can see that many of our operations have been able to have more customer contacts than we actually had before the crisis, because it's quite efficient to connect yourself. And with the technology that is available today, I think the quality of the meetings become good. You need to prepare yourself in a better way. You have to make sure that you have a good agenda and that you have certain decision points. Then I don't really think that virtual meeting can replace all customer visit and physical meetings. So we will need to meet and to build trust and to get to know each other, which is actually part of doing business, but hopefully at a more efficient pace, actually.
I wish I could say that we have become more efficient by being virtual, but by the very nature of diplomacy, which is around also networking and meeting people, it has been a very tough time on us. We are not known for having the perfect agenda and being perfectly prepared. It's more quite a big part of our job is also the small talk that will lead then to the serious discussions. And there we've been suffering a lot in seclusion and just talking to other people virtually. Now, is there a silver lining, like on the horizon, like you would say? You've seen really something surprisingly positive about the crisis we went through.
Yeah, first, of course, we can say that there are a lot of tragic things that's happened. And I mean, both when it comes to the health of people, but also a lot of people losing jobs today, and certain sectors have been dramatically affected. And I'm really pitying with a lot of people who has built up businesses that maybe has been destroyed during this period, and maybe takes very long time. So that is, of course, this essence of the whole pandemic. On the other hand, I also learned during my years that every crisis, you have to learn something, and you have to try to bring something with you for the future, and maybe prepare yourself or make self to do things in a little bit different way. And I hope we in ABB can learn from this, and also make sure that we can, work more efficient and make sure that we can take care of our customers when different kind of crisis takes up. So a little bit more of the damage control from the beginning, so makes us more efficient when the crisis comes up. So hopefully we will learn something from it.
Well, I most certainly do hope that your presence in the United States of America is going to increase even further. We have a clear goal. We want to be one of the most important trading partners of the United States of America. In the meantime, for 3 months, I think, in a row last year, the US was the main trading partner of Switzerland. For the first time in history. We need to increase the presence, and it has to be also an industrial presence. And we are very grateful if you manage to be even more present than you are today. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for this very interesting talk. And let's hope that the next meeting won't be virtual.
Thank you, Ms. Ambassador. I really do, and I'm really looking forward to come and visit US soon. And have a chance to meet many more of our customers and our industries in the market. So stay safe and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Sure. Have a nice evening.